Oh, kia ora. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this Move, Sweat and Suffer podcast. I'm privileged to have Mr. Derek Towers here with us today. Lee Hazard sends his apologies. It's actually 2 o'clock in the morning for him right now. So he did say, I'm sorry, mate, I won't be able to make it. I'll be sleeping. So
Yeah,
yeah, good on him. But I only thought of that after I had organized it because I booked this time to suit sort of my schedule and and your time. So I forgot about poor old Lee, but he can get me back on the next one.
there
But
we go.
anyway, mate, it's really great to have you here, Derek. And I guess by way of kicking things off, it would be great if you could take a few moments, or as long as you like, to introduce yourself for everybody that'll be listening, mate. It'd be great to if you could start there.
Sure, sure. First off, I'm honored that you've invited me on here. It's incredible.
You're very
Uh,
welcome, mate.
so I don't know. I have an interesting little bit of history on fitness.
Nice. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So like as a kid, I did some sports, but I was not very athletic or very sporty. Uh, like I said, I did do some. I played a little volleyball in high school and pee wee baseball, uh, but not a lot. And then I went in the service right out of high school,
Right.
joined the Navy. Uh, my folks said, "Hey, yeah, you can go to school, but you're gonna have to pay for it yourself." And I was mentally unprepared to take that on. Didn't know what it meant. So my dad was in Germany through the Vietnam era.
Wow.
And so he painted this really great picture of his time in the army. They were basically standing by to get shipped off to Vietnam. So every weekend was the world's biggest party. I'm like, well, that sounds pretty good. Uh, Tried to get the GI Bill so I could get to college that route.
Yeah.
And went in the service. I'm a very neat and organized, super detail oriented, follow. So that whole aspect of the service was very unchallenging. That was actually that part was easy. I enjoyed that
Right.
aspect. But being in the service like 24/7, that just ate at my mind. Like I don't
Mm.
know. And I was young. I was 19 when I went in, and very very immature. And so I did 4 years as an engineering aide, drafting, surveying,
Right.
and got the heck out. Uh, and so, in hindsight, I could have been retired from the service by now, years ago,
Mm. Yeah.
if I would have made it. So, in the service, my whole point of that little bit was in the service, I just did what was needed to maintain standard physical fitness,
Yeah.
uh, no real extra. Um, so I got out in 96, 96 to 2000 was pretty much party time. Met my wife, got married.
Yeah.
We both were kind of party kids and continued that on. 2000, found out my dad had cancer. So
Oh,
that
man.
was huge bomb dropped on the
Mm.
family. And it was esophageal cancer,
Right in
mostly
the
from heavy
throat. Huh?
smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
throat and mouth,
Right.
and smoking and heavy drinking. And so I was also a heavy smoker all through the service.
Wow.
And yeah, so that was big, like, okay, saw what my mom was going through, um, and was kind of like, okay, well, I don't want to put the family through this,
Mm.
again. And so I tried to quit smoking. Uh, Lasted a
Did you
year.
just Oh, okay. Sorry, I was gonna say, did you just go cold turkey?
Yep, went cold turkey. Um, I don't think there was all the patches
Patches and stuff these days,
and
eh?
yeah, all
Yeah.
the other options. Um, so lasted a year. After a year, the cravings were just as bad.
Mm.
And so I'm like, well, the hell with this. It's not getting any easier. So had another cigarette, and
Yeah.
then one leads to two, two leads to four. Matter of like a month or two, I'm back to a pack a day.
Wow.
And so I don't think I did that for very long, and I realized, okay, let's try this again. You know, my dad's going through all the chemo and radiation and surgery.
Yeah.
Surgeries are brutal for that stuff. You know, he basically had a portion of his jaw taken out.
Far out.
The first time a part of his tongue, they took a piece of his arm and sculpted a tongue for him.
Is that right?
Yeah, he had a trach for a long time,
Far out.
and then so that was about 2001 or two. So I'm still pretty much partying, kind of the same way. I'm just trying to get smoking out of my life, you know, heavy. And so next time I try and quit, I basically I'm like, okay, well, then I may just have these terrible cravings for the rest of my life, but I got to quit smoking because clearly
Didn't
terrible.
want to put your family through that. Yeah, and all that.
Yeah, it's terrible for you.
Mm.
So the second time I quit, we got a dog.
You got a dog.
A few years later, maybe 2003.
Right.
Got a little puppy. Me and my wife did. And so I started walking her every day. And she was a ball of energy. And so I'd take her longer and longer to try and wear her out. And then at some point, I'm walking for so long, I'm like, maybe I'll jog her and that'll wear her out quicker. So I start jogging. And my sister also about the same time gets a dog. So we're taking both of them on jogs. And now jogging is, you know, we're going for so long. We take the dogs for as long as they go, drop them off at home, and then we keep jogging.
Wow.
Yeah. So we do this for a little while. And then my sister says, hey, why don't we run a marathon? To which my reply was like, I hate running. I'm not even doing what we're doing right now, but you know, I'm feeling better, you know, in life.
Yeah.
And so she just keeps bugging me and bugging me and bugging me. And finally I'm like, all right, maybe this sounds a little less insane. So yeah, 2005 LA Marathon.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you go? What was your time?
It was terrible. 5 hours, 37 minutes. I hit the wall at like mile 16.
Yeah.
Didn't understand the wall until then. Crazy.
But hey, you pushed through it. That's
yeah.
Awesome.
I kept walking. I'd walk a little bit, try and run. And the 2 weeks before that, when we did our last long practice run, we did 22 miles. And we were running at a pace to do sub 4.
Wow.
Which, we're
awesome. Yeah.
We were really stoked on that. So right around that time, you know, I'm definitely like, when we started training, like that was probably one of the switches for fitness, because we're running an hour to an hour and a half every day in our training. And so diet, then, you know, you everything kind of focuses around your training.
Yeah.
And so I think that was my first glimpse of what that kind of lifestyle change meant. I still carrying on with the partying, you know.
Still managing to squeeze that in there.
Yeah. Wherever possible. Oh, we're gonna have a rest day. Okay. Sounds like it's party night. So we ended up doing that, and then let's see. I think right as I had finished that, or I'll try and fast forward a little bit. I can be very long-winded.
All good. I'll just jump in and with questions and stuff anyway. So yeah, carry on.
Okay, cool. So right around the end of that, a buddy of mine talked me into joining him doing judo.
Yeah.
And I had done, that was the other thing I did when I was younger was I had started with karate, just like Rob, in 6th grade. Did it for a couple years, and I loved it. Same kind of thing, the structure, the progression. Those are all like well suited for my mentality.
Yeah.
And then later in life, like high school and after that, in the service, I was doing some crazy different kung fu's. The part that I loved was like the strength training. Like we did a bunch of that stuff with the rings and like bone density.
Nice. And are you still involved in your martial arts and stuff now as well?
No. I'll tell you why though here shortly.
Yeah.
So finished the marathon, just pretty much as far as running. Even during the training, like I ended up going to a couple of sports medicine guys that trying to fix shin splints that were just brutal. So I just kind of shifted focus, stopped running, and pretty much went all in on judo. Focus then. And are you familiar with judo at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I've not done it personally, but I've got some good friends that performed quite well and made it to nationals and that sort of stuff when I was coming up through school. So they were quite good.
That's awesome. Yeah. I went to nationals a few times and got my rear end handed to me every time. It wasn't so bad getting beat up by one of the guys who team. So that,
wow. Yeah, that's all right. If you're going to get beat by somebody, that's somebody to get beaten by. Hey, that guy beat me.
Yeah, I lasted 10 seconds with him. Yeah. So I did that for 7 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Began for my black belt.
Yeah.
The same thing, like life revolved around judo as far as health, fitness. Still hadn't given up partying. Still like where it fit in. But now it's been, quite a while of no smoking. And then
congratulations, man.
Yeah, it's how
many years now?
Like 17 years.
Awesome.
It's every, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now I'll have like a tenth of a second of a craving.
Yeah.
And by the time I recognize it, it's gone and I'm like, ugh, no. So it does get better.
That's good.
At least it did for me.
Yeah. Awesome. Sounds like it.
Yeah.
And so
go ahead.
I was just going to ask, sorry, Derek, your sister, that's your sister that you're doing the burpees and stuff with on your guys' videos? Kirsten? Kristen. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. Okay, I'll try and speed up a little bit. So judo also, at some point I'm like, okay, I need to up my cardio game because a bunch of the guys at the club are kicking my butt in cardio, and so I started. I made a commitment to start commuting by bike every day. So I had done that for about a year, and then kind of in the same wheelhouse of judo lessons, I started sitting zazen. Have you heard of zazen?
Zazen? No. What's that?
It's like Zen Buddhism.
Okay. Right. So meditation and stuff, is it?
Yeah. So zazen is the Zen form of meditation.
Right.
Started that about a year after I started biking. Fast forward another year of doing pretty much like pretty regular zazen and biking. And March 27th, I leave, make it a block from work, and get creamed by a truck on my bike.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did that was that at an intersection? Was that at was that head on? Was the driver just lose concentration? How did that happen? What was that?
They basically, that classic slow motion kind of where I'm going downhill to an
Right.
intersection. He's coming opposite direction to make a left turn. And I could just see him look right through me as he's scanning the intersection.
Yeah.
Literally looked right through me. And so he ended up T-boning me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Flew across the road, landed on the sidewalk. Had the strange cognizance to think he hit me on my left side. I landed on my right side on the sidewalk and was like literally thinking, okay, good. I can land. Judo's all about falling. That's
Yeah.
that's all your practice is, or not all, but 90%. You just practice falling. And so I remember thinking like, okay, good. I'll just do a fall over here. My legs up. Anyway, I look at my leg and it's at the femur. It's going the wrong direction.
Right.
Broke my femur, lacerated my femoral artery.
Wow.
2 weeks in the ICU, 3 weeks in the hospital, 6 months out of work. So now I have, I wear that brace, and that's
I've seen that brace. I was going to
it's
ask you
lift,
about that.
yeah, lifts my foot up. I can push,
Right.
but I can't lift.
Yeah.
The first surgery was 8 hours where they were setting the bone and grafting the femoral artery, putting a graft in there.
Wow.
And so in that kind of time, the blood flow is restricted to the lower portion of the leg.
Yeah.
And that nerve that lifts your foot is notoriously common to you lose the function of it. Very common in motorcycle accidents.
Yeah. So have you got in your left, so from your femoral bone, is that your actual bone, or have you got rods and stuff in your left leg now?
I got titanium rod, the full length of my femur inside the bone.
Right, inside the bone.
So for anybody who is interested, if you, I was under the impression that some of this kind of medicine was more, laser and high precision. No, it's still hammers and
bolts and rods and
my doctor who did that, he's like, yeah, it's a 1/2-inch rod. It's all titanium rod, stainless steel equipment, and they're literally just
hammering.
Yes.
Man.
Pretty brutal still.
Yeah, sounds like it. And so that the lower part of your leg, Derek, so from the femoral, so like anything with the knee, any knee reconstruction, anything with the tibia, fibula, down to the ankle, anything like that, or?
No, well, I had to do what's called a double fasciotomy because all of the blood and fluids were all filling in the whole. There's 4 compartments in your lower leg, and they were all so full of fluid that they basically did 2 giant cuts down both sides of my calf just to let it out, let all the fluid out. Otherwise, I think everything can die off there.
Yeah, because you're saying the blood flow is not very good, down to the lower part of the
right. I had, because of all that fluid, I developed this other symptom that's common in CrossFit called rhabdomyolysis. Rhabdo.
Yeah.
So I was my numbers were off the chart. Like this black, brown tar stuff was being sucked out of my wounds for weeks on end. My kidneys were getting, I had 5 gallons of fluid in me when I was in the ICU, where literally my head was squishy with fluids.
That right.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So
And that was how long again in hospital, in ICU? 3 months? Did you say 6 months?
Two weeks in ICU, 3 weeks
2
in the
weeks in ICU.
hospital. Yeah, 6 months
Right.
completely out of work. I was in a wheelchair when I came out, and then
Gotcha.
walker, cane. Yeah.
And so and I'd love to come back to that. So with that piece as well, like fast forwarding a little bit with regards to where you're at, how was your wife during that period? Is she going to work? Is she bringing the bread and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
definitely my champion. Like kind of event,
Life changing.
yeah, hugely life changing.
Yeah.
Realize that are definitively dependent on others. So yeah, super grateful. I still have the same job, good job.
Yeah.
So I was, covered. I'm pretty much even, I think, with the insurance companies now.
And what is the work that you were doing, or that, so you still do the same work that you were doing then prior to the accident as what you're doing now?
Yeah, similar. I do transportation engineering. I'm a technician. Actually, I'm a specialist now. So
Right.
I translate engineering into English.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
that's that must be interesting.
Yeah. Good to talk to citizens in your community. I work for our local city here. And,
Yeah. And where's here for you, for our listeners, Derek?
yeah, Ventura, California. We're about an hour north of Los Angeles, but we kind of pride ourselves on not being Los Angeles.
Right. Pride yourselves on not being Los Angeles. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And your wife, what does your sweetheart do?
She's a massage therapist, so she's been out of
Oh,
work until maybe, I think about 2 or 3 months ago, she started working her way back into it.
yeah. And was that due to COVID and stuff, due to this
Yeah.
pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least she has you to keep utilizing the skills with all the exercise and work that you're putting in.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh
Yeah.
man. Hey, I'm going to jump into that then. I want to ask, so how did Derek Towers then, and that's a great backdrop, and thank you for that information, which we'll get to. Very sorry. Sorry, before we jump into this, your dad, what happened with your dad? So he had
Uh,
that, he went through that.
yeah. So he passed away a year after my accident.
Oh, wow. And
So
when
he
was your accident? Sorry, what year?
2000.
2010. Far
Yeah.
out.
So
And he passed a year after that. But so he was diagnosed back in 2000,
right.
2001, you
2000.
mentioned
Yeah.
2000. And so was he in remission before he passed by that stage, or was it
No,
still around, or?
yeah, he got better for a little while, maybe like 2003. Then it
Right.
came back again, and they, did more surgery and more
Mm,
chemo. Like he just kind of ran the gamut through
wow.
cancer and the various treatments. And so it definitely, the second time I quit, I was continuing to see like
Mm,
just how brutal it can be for not only my dad's quality of life at the end. Like he was on a feeding tube. I mean, he was
mm,
somewhat mobile, but uh, couldn't speak at all. Like the
oh,
second
wow.
surgery, they removed the whole rest of his tongue. Um,
Man.
just that it's kind of,
Yeah, that's rough.
yeah, really showing me
Yeah.
freaking
Well,
brutal.
I'm brutal, all right. I'm sorry for your loss too, Derek, and that going through that. But I think what you may touch on, you might speak to that as well. Obviously, it seems like you seem to have such a great personality and a energy around about you, especially when I see your videos and the groups of people that you're with. Seems like you got a great environment there. Obviously, your wife has been a rock and a large support and part of that. You've got your sister, who I see you guys bantering back and forth with on your videos, and that's great to see. It's really incredible to see I guess, the community that you have within the area that you're in, but also this community that you're a part of as well, and that it's so great to be able to follow along with your journey and the stuff that you do. And I'm really, really interested, as I know others are as well, to just sort of find out a little bit more about that with regards to your burpee journey. And I know you do a whole bunch more than just burpees, but we're what's the term that Lee uses? Maybe we're narcissists or something like that in terms of our approach to burpees and those sorts of things. And so we're really keen to hear, how did you get started in doing the burpees that you do? Because you just seem to move and pump them out. What drew you into that?
Yeah. Yeah. So going back, after my accident, I stopped doing any kind of activity. I quickly realized I could not do judo anymore. This leg is just too, I don't have enough sensations to be able to tell,
Yeah.
like, somebody in a precarious position.
Gotcha.
I can't feel it
Yeah.
in the right ways. And so I didn't do anything. And I actually was in hindsight, a bit of a depression after my accident. And so my office mates, we all decided to do a little push-up challenge. And during my judo days, like it wouldn't have been a challenge. I would have just wiped them out. And several of the day. And so I was like, oh, something's got to change. This is not good.
Were there any of the ladies in there? Were there any ladies that wiped you out that day?
No, but I'm sure. I think it was just because they weren't there.
Oh.
They would have. So I think the next day or the week after that, me and one office mate, we went over to the work gym, and even during my judo days, I'd been watching the CrossFit, and so they were hardcore into burpees, and so I'm like, all right, I'm gonna my workout today is gonna be 75 burpees.
Nice. It's a big number.
I did 75 burpees. It took me an hour and 10 minutes to do 75. Literally like one, and then walk around for a while. One, and then walk around for a while. That night.
This is really your, sorry to jump in, Derek. Was this really your first session back post the accident, post recovery, and post the push-up challenge? Yeah, this was your first one back?
Exactly.
Wow.
So,
sorry, carry on.
75 burpees. Okay. That night, I couldn't sleep. I ended up taking a Vicodin because I was in so much pain. I called in sick to work the next day. So I was eye-opening as to where I was in the fitness journey.
Yeah.
And then right after that, after I recovered from that, I decided, okay, I need to start doing something regularly. So I looked up an app at the time. This was 2012 for just body weight workouts.
Yeah.
And I started doing those twice a week, and kind of same crew, office mates. We started going up to where you're seeing now, where that box is. There was no box. There was just us on the asphalt.
Wow.
And that's twice a week. And kind of spread the word through the city of, anybody who wants to come up and do push-ups, squats, and sit-ups. Come join us. So
this is a lunchtime thing? This is your guys' lunchtime sessions? Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome.
3 to 5 of us in the beginning. Showing up twice a week, and it's grown from that.
Beautiful.
And so now, we have that. We raised money for that box. We've got all kinds of plates and kettlebells
and all sorts.
All donation raised. We put on like a little community fundraiser a couple times. Just beautiful people out there.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Awesome, man. And so you're finding your feet and your rhythm, I guess, in that you've been following along with CrossFit. So would you say CrossFit's been probably the catalyst for you to get back into the fitness, and is it still the same of where you're at now? Is CrossFit still the main influencing factor for you?
No, definitely not. Way more calisthenics
Yeah. Okay.
based. So the burpees, though, burpees have been present in a very small piece ever since then. So we did quite a bit of work, and then at some point, I think our challenge was like 100 burpees in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Doing it timed. What is that? That's like every 18 seconds, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. And you
And
did this. When was this? Sorry,
this was
2000.
this was with the group
Oh,
once we
right. Gotcha.
once
Yeah.
we started. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, starting 2012 and 13, and
Yeah.
everybody hates burpees.
Yeah.
So anytime I put that on the list of the workout, people are just, "Ugh."
I laugh when I hear the groans from some of your people, and then when somebody
Yes,
called out, they said, "Oh, we'll do 50s." They're doing 15 of something. Oh, we'll do 15 burpees, and like, "Oh, points with Derek. He gets points with Derek." It was hard case.
exactly. So yeah, it's evolved from week, and then started adding a third day, and then we added a fourth day, and then year before last we dedicated Wednesdays to doing bench pressing, and some accessories.
Yeah.
And so now it's just every day. Not everybody shows, but
Yeah.
there's a solid group that shows every day.
That's awesome.
And then I love to make people uncomfortable with burpees or handstands. Everybody loves
Yeah.
handstands. I've had us do cartwheels and whatever, the toes to bar when those first kind of came out. It was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, what things? I'm gonna fall on my head.
That's awesome. And how have you seen that group of people? So I would imagine you've got a core group of people that have been there pretty much with you from the start. And have you seen changes in them and even in yourself in terms of whether that's physical ability, mental ability, and approach? And if you have, what stuck out to you about either those things for yourself and for those that you've seen that have been a part of your group?
Yeah. So for the rest of the group, I think I have maybe two people that are still there from the very beginning.
Right.
One of the guys is just all around very athletic guy. He hates handstands. He hates going upside down, but he begrudgingly does it. So I think it's just kind of maintaining a good fitness level. So like you're not stopped by anything that's physically challenging that
Yeah.
looks fun in life.
Yeah. Or looks daunting, right? You
Right.
develop, I guess, enough confidence and courage to give it a crack, and regardless of how you might look. And that's what I sort of wanted to lead into this question with regards to yourself and your group, and that there, like, people would listen to that. I was surprised when you said 75 burpees, and it took you how long? An hour?
Hour and 10 or hour and 15.
Hour and 10, hour 15 minutes. And you know what? I think that's so great for people to hear, like
Yeah.
in this space, regardless of where they're at, because people can look at it and go, well, they do 75 or whatever in X amount of minutes or whatever. This guy's saying it took him an hour 10 to do 75, but I think that's really important that people hear that, because you got to start somewhere. Did you by any chance have that on video?
Oh, I wish.
Yeah, I
That
was
would
gonna.
be a humongous, bite of humble pie every
Yeah,
time. But
yeah,
I just want to, I want to echo what you said. Like, you and Lee kind of take a harder line at times, but
Mm.
you know, when I first started that group, I literally could not run.
Mm.
We would do like runs, and I would just do a fast walk. And
Yeah.
jumping at that time was like terrifying to me, because
Yeah, I
this
bet.
the leg was just like, I don't know what I can do with this thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that can translate to anybody's level, you know,
Mm.
where we've had
100%.
80-year-old people come up there and work out with us, you know, all the way down to youngsters. And
Mm.
so, you know, that's one of my sayings is modify as required.
Yeah.
And it's all modifications, you know.
Yeah. And I love that about the stuff that I see you do. It has that modification aspect, but it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have this move as well as you can for as long as you can while we can type approach. And I think that's just beautiful. I think that's a great mindset, a great approach. Am I right in that? And that's sort of what you look to try to do?
Yeah, exactly. Like, uh, do what you can while you can, because hit by a truck, and
Mm.
then you're gonna have to change, you know, what you could do yesterday. And you know, it doesn't
Mm.
have to be that dramatic. For me, I found, like, you know, you're do what you can every, because maybe yesterday everything lined up, you ate right, you
Mm.
slept well, and 100 burpees just flies by,
Yeah.
and you know, you keep going. Today you didn't get good sleep, you didn't get to eat at all, and so today the 100 burpees is, you know,
Yeah. Terrible.
hellacious.
Yeah.
But
What's your
always,
Sorry, go.
the one other little asterisk there is,
Yeah.
I tell people, you know, you always want to make it a you know, personal difficulty rating of, you know, 8 maybe, but 9 or 10. Like, you know,
Yeah.
whatever you're doing, try and be pushing yourself.
Mm. Yeah, great advice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. How do you, because I see you with your burpees and stuff these days, what's your target do you have a target in terms of number of burpees that you do? Do you do them every day? And so yeah, what's your target number that you do each day? And are you doing them do you do burpees every day?
Yeah. So I'm doing them nearly every day.
Yeah, awesome.
I missed yesterday. I've missed 9 days in the last, like, 236 or something like that.
Far out. That's impressive, man.
So
Only
it,
9 days.
yeah, that's part of my practice. I put that in my description. Like, I'm really good at being OCD.
Yeah.
It would be easier for me to just say I've got to do every day 100, and
Uh-huh.
not give myself the space to be like, you know, like yesterday I walked, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles in the morning. I did my
Mm,
short little pull-up routine, and then I did a 2-hour bike ride, which I haven't ridden in forever. And I was just feeling beat by the time I got
yeah.
home at, I don't know, 6 or 7. And so, like, it was a big struggle for me to be like, okay, Derek, just, you could be kind to yourself one day, and give yourself
Mm,
the space to skip this. It's not like you were sitting around all day. You did
yeah.
other things.
Yeah. Man,
But
that's awesome. That's great advice. Sorry, carry on. Carry on.
yeah, so, well, no, I was just gonna say. So I my target has been 100 a day minimum,
Awesome.
nearly every day.
And what has been the largest number that you've just gone, maybe everything just lined up really well and you've gone, man, I feel pretty good. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going and going. And have you, what's been, I guess, the largest number or a large number that you've done on any one of those days that you've been doing the last 200 odd days of burpees?
Yeah, so I did the Holy Grail. I did the 1,001.
1,000.
Yeah,
Man, beautiful, man. Awesome.
yeah.
And how long did that take you? How did that time go?
I think it might have been. I need to look back and check. I think it was
Yeah.
uh, 2.5, maybe just under 3. It's
Awesome.
the stars did
Awesome.
not align that day.
Yeah.
No, it was. I had signed up to do it with Burpee Yoga Uncle
Yeah.
and Can't Shake Me, Paul from Can't Shake Me,
Right.
and I slept like crap the night before.
Is it because you knew it was coming the next day?
I don't probably, but man, like 200 in, I wanted to hit the eject button already. Like, done at 200.
Oh, damn, my phone stopped working.
Yeah. It's overheated. I don't know. The wife's calling me.
Yeah.
Literally.
How can I get out of here?
Yeah. How do I run from here? On the plus side, like those guys, like literally helped me make that happen. I mean, that was a mental monster. It turned into 5x5. We were doing sets of 25, and then we take a short break. But in my head, I was doing fives. I would do 5, and then I'd do 5 times.
Yeah.
And then, I couldn't even comprehend 25.
Yeah. I love how you broke that down though. You peeled that back and gone, okay, never mind looking at and thinking about 25. I'm just gonna go 5. Sometimes we peel it back and just go, I'm just gonna go 1.
Yeah.
And then the next one.
Right. Yeah,
So
it's a mental thing for sure. Like every time, like just so much blah 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 going on up top. You're like,
actually, yeah, that was a question I was just going to ask you. What goes on in your mind, not only just in the 1,000, but yeah, feel free to speak about that. But even just, you're turning up today, you're doing a minimum 100 plus burpees. What do you think about? What does Derek Towers think about? What goes through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is there's burpee yoga uncle has talked about this. Like, it gets meditative at times, and just like you said, like, let me just do one, do one.
Yeah.
That's like a direct correlation to the Zazen practice.
Right.
Just it's about kind of watching what your mind does.
Yeah.
And we play all kinds of games. Sometimes they're so subtle we don't even necessarily see the games we're playing in our head until finally you're like, oh wow, I was getting really wrapped up in that. I was actually thinking about, okay, this is sounding like a good excuse to tap right now. I was gonna buy into it. Wait a second.
Crack up. Okay.
So it changes day to day. I think Throstle's talked about this a little bit. Like, I don't like to say things aloud, because once I do, I put a lot of weight into that, and I'm not afraid of failure. I fail on the bench all the time.
Yeah.
But I think that when we speak it and put it out into the universe, that takes on a different form than the thought in my head. Like, okay, I'm just thinking I'm gonna do 100. I'm gonna try and start putting this a little bit more. Me and my sister talked about this. We will have these, like, I don't know, 5-10 minute discussion periods about how we're feeling, and is this a day we want to push? Do we want to just do volume? And then eventually somebody will just be like, let's do it as fast as we can. And we had just been having a 10-minute discussion about, oh, I'm tired today, let's take it easy. And then somebody just says it out loud, and you're like, all right, I don't know why my mouth just did that to us, but now that's what we're doing.
Okay, and your sister, how did that happen? Has she always been into fitness, or did you encourage her and coax her along, or did she encourage and coax you along? How did that work?
I think it's a payback for the marathon.
Nice.
I kind of, hey, you want to do this too? Just 100 a day. You could do it. She's always been pretty fit. I mean, she's maintained active lifestyle.
Nice.
And so her and my wife have been, and myself as well,
Yeah.
Gotten into hiking a lot lately.
Yeah.
And so the two of them will do more big hikes during the week than me. And so I'm like, well, you're already doing this other stuff. You'd do this stuff with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. And you've kept it going for those like coming up. Has it been almost a year or 200 something days now, you're saying?
Yeah, 200 and something for me. She missed her first day yesterday also after 152 days straight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
That's
blew me away.
impressive.
I took
That's
I took
impressive.
3 days off after my first 30,
Yeah.
and then I've taken another 6 since
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Wow. That's amazing. That's awesome. So
yeah.
152 days straight. She's just missed it. Was she just needed a rest? She was being kind to herself, as you mentioned, or was it she forgot or what?
No, she was just, I think she was planning on taking right after her 150th day,
Ah, okay.
but I sent her a text. We don't always text each other like, "Hey, have you done yours yet?" Uh, some days, one of us will be like, "Hey, I did mine early," or "I'm doing mine at lunch."
Yeah, gotcha.
But I just happened to send it out on her 151st day. I'm like, "Hey, have you done it?" And she's like, "No, I was going to take today off until you texted me. Now I feel like."
I think it's safe to say it sounds like you've well and truly got her back for the marathon.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
That's awesome. Your where's that question I got here? Why do you do burpees? Like why did you choose to come up with that number? Like the consistency of it. Why is that?
I think some of Iron Wolf. I definitely plugged into him early on
Mm.
in the pandemic, but he was kind of like, he's insane. I mean, I'm in decent shape, and I look at him. I think maybe he's part alien or something. I mean, I can see it now a little bit better, but it's still like, I mean, even you guys, like you and Throssell and Rob, you guys are pushing it for sure from my perspective. And so I came across Burpee Yoga Uncle who was
Yeah.
doing and Burpee King. They were doing
Oh, yeah.
100 a day, and I'm like, that's a bite size commitment
Yeah.
because I've been doing my lunchtime thing with my crew.
Yeah.
I'm not giving that up.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned, I've been hiking with my wife. We've been doing longer and longer ones. Last weekend,
Mm.
11 and a half mile hike on a hard rated trail. And then 3 times a week, I've been trying to get better at benching. I still terrible at it, but I don't really care.
Yeah, it's looking good, man.
Yeah, my long-term goal there is to do a single rep with 2 plates. I think that
Awesome.
would be awesome. I mean, the other piece of my story is at the beginning of the pandemic, I was weighing in between 215, 220.
Yeah,
Since then,
right.
with burpees added in, I'm like 175. So
Ah, right.
my
That's
my
amazing.
I mean, it's crazy. I've been struggling to try and keep weight on, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not surprised. It's obviously very, very active. The hiking, the cycling, but work, family life, the lunchtime stuff, and then
Yeah.
still committing to. You use the term bite size, but man, that's still a lot of in anybody's language, somebody with a family and work and other commitments and doing all these other things, 100 at the end of a day or even at the start of the day can be like, what can I do to get out of this? So hats off to you, man. That's incredible, Derek.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so I don't know. It's funny because I feel that way, like it's a lot, and at the same time, I'm questioning like I see what you guys are doing with the 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 on a more regular basis, if not,
Mhm.
300 for you on a daily. And I'm kind of struggling. Like, do I want to try and incorporate more burpees, and how would I do that with my lunch crew?
Mm. Just make them do them.
Just torture them,
Just
some
torture
more.
them, yeah. Torture them till they I don't know if I ever enjoy it. No, that's not true. There are times, but yeah, just torture
Yeah.
them until they're the same as you.
Well, this is what I say. I say, I hated burpees like years ago.
Yeah.
Even though I started with them, that deep hatred for them at the same time. So you just do what you hate so much until you
Yeah.
start getting confused. Wait, do I love this thing or do I? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Because Lee loves him. He's like, yeah, I'll be lying in bed and I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do the next day, and then the rep scheme starts going through my head, and but if I do this many, then I do that, and I just crack up because I could relate to what he was saying.
Yeah, exactly. I do that. I do that with the lunch crew programming as well. It's
I
like,
bet.
because some folks will read the programming and then they'll determine,
Whether or not they come.
do I want to show up for this? Like, no, you can't do that. We're
Yeah.
just letting you get prepared. I'm gonna just start saying, show up.
You should just implement that. That's another. That is an aspect that I do like about the CrossFit. The unknown piece around there. They don't in their competitions anyway. They
Right.
don't put it up. People don't know what they're going to do till they rock up or whatever and compete. And that could come in handy.
Yeah.
How did you feel after hitting that 1,000? Did you, in your head, like the 1,000 burpee, 1,001? Did you think, now that you've done that, you can go to that place again, or have you had thoughts about, I'd like to try to beat that time? What's been your thoughts since completing that?
Yeah. So that's an awesome question. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it out there. I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but my next goal is same as Throstle said, 1,002 pump.
Awesome.
Yeah,
1,002 pump.
yeah. I think it's probably gonna be in the same time frame. I hope. Like as far as 3 hours, sub 3 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's an amazing goal. Have you got a date in mind for that? Like a rough, where you're thinking
I'm not. I'm not.
sometime next year?
I'm not willing to make that verbal.
Now that you've just said that, actually, I'm just thinking, well, yeah, I might. That sounds good. Might have to look to try to do that. My date, yeah, I will now, because you've inspired me to do that, and that's one thing that I'll talk about as well. It's really motivating and inspiring for me to see. If you don't mind me asking, Derek, how wise are you? How many years are you?
I'm gonna be 49 wise next month or end of this year.
49 wise. We're
Yeah.
young then. We're still young.
Yeah.
So
So how about you?
I'm only 43. Yeah,
Right.
so I'm going to go for those on my next birthday, next year, April 8th. Same when I did the 1,000 this year. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
I'll put that out there for my one. So
Hmm.
that's because I wasn't even thinking that until you said it. I was like, okay. That's awesome. And so how did you feel though then? Did you feel like did it transfer in any way to other aspects of your life, thinking, because 1,000 burpees for anybody, myself included, you'd hear that number, I'd hear that number and look at it and go, that's just ridiculous. Like, I don't want to I don't want to do that. Why would I want to do that?
Yeah.
and then next minute, that's a happy birthday present, but we go and do it. Has that transferred over into other aspects of your life you've felt whereby things have been difficult, challenging, and you've gone, you know what, stuff it, I can power through, I can push through, much like, I guess, your marathon that you did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, ever since my accident, for sure that was like
Mm,
a major turning point as far
true.
as mentality. Like it just kind of cemented, like, like, here's the next thing to do. Here's, when I was getting back to walking, actually, when I was in ICU, like,
Yep.
I'm still trying to be active with my leg, how it was, just trying to roll over in the bed,
Wow.
Let me see if I can help the folks in there to do my part. And then, physical therapy. All right, here's the prescription. Do what you can. All right, well, I'll do that, and then maybe I'll try a little bit more. Okay, try and do, 1 lap around the house today. Okay, maybe I'll try 2 then if I can do it and I'm not. And so I think that's kind of the same thing. Like, yeah, I agree. Like 1,000 burpees, even just hearing you say that, and then like just thinking of 1,000 burpees, like that is so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Who does that? Yeah. What's wrong with you?
Why would you do that? I've done 500 only twice, and one time it was really enjoyable, and then the last time I did it, my sister did it with me, and it was similar to my 1,000. Like, what am I doing? This is a terrible idea.
Okay, Sam. Yeah, I feel you. I really enjoy seeing the stuff that you put out there and the work that you do, and I love how you have the other elements like the hiking and stuff, and then seeing the footage with the big spider that was crawling along in one of your videos that you had, the banter and the conversations between you and your sister. I forget. There was one she was talking about. I want to maintain, and I was listening to the pace that she was wanting to maintain, like 4 or something every 10 seconds, or something. In my mind, I was thinking, you want to do 4 burpees every 10 seconds? I was like, what the hell are you? What's going on?
What's yes, exactly. That was awesome.
Yeah. And I was like, I think I put a message on yours. Remind me, Derek, to never
Yeah.
want to do intervals with your sister. I was like, there's no way I want to be doing that pace for any period of time. Maybe the first 10 seconds. Yeah. And then
that's good. After that,
yeah.
I was completely dumbfounded because she was completely convinced, like, no, I've done the math. I've already worked this out. And I'm like, it's not adding up for me.
I was sitting to think that just does not add up. I'm thinking, I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, but yeah, that was so cool, man. And the content, the stuff that you're doing, the place where it seems that it comes from, just a real genuine, sincere place. And that's what I've really enjoyed about this community. And I wanted to ask you, what have been your thoughts about this? Obviously there's burpee yoga, there's the can't shake me, and then a whole bunch of everybody else that we seem to be connected to or bump into or hear about in this community. What have been your thoughts? What have you found that you either like or maybe don't like about the community, if there's anything?
Yeah. Well, like several of you and Lee and Rob, I think, have all said, the accountability aspect. I think for me, this is just a redundant accountability. As many redundant accountability aspects as I can build into it, the better. Just for example, like my lunchtime crew, an interesting place that I've got to with that group is that, like, the conversation of whether I'm in the mood for it or not is the volume on that has been turned down so low that I don't really very often even hear it.
That's
it's just
awesome.
It's workout time. We're going to go do what we can do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how I feel about it. We're just going to go do it. And so I'm hoping hasn't happened yet. I'm hoping that happens with burpees. Like, if you can just, because it doesn't really matter, unless you're injured, like, then that's a different voice. But the voice about, how do I feel about doing burpees today? Am I in the mood for it? Who cares? that work you've signed up for, you know it's good for you.
Mm.
Like, why spend that energy on having a conversation about? And I'm very much not there yet with the burpees, because today I walked in circles around my backyard before I hit that record button. I warmed up already. I'm just like, ugh, I'm not. I'm not in the mood for it. I don't feel.
I feel you. I understand completely where you're coming from, especially when you have those days. But I love what you mentioned there. Like, who cares? It doesn't matter how you feel. You just move. And I found maybe it's the same for you. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Once you just start moving and take action, and you get that first burpee done,
Right.
um, you just carry on from there. Is that the same for you, Derek?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't fully answer your question. I think the community definitely. I've been saying this in responses to folks on my channel, is like, um, the inspiration and motivation factor. I think
Mm.
is huge. Like, um, I just, even there's just sometimes brief moments of, all right, look at this guy's putting in his work today. This guy,
Mm.
this lady put in her work yesterday, and
Yeah.
you just see that, that commitment, that people putting in real effort
Yeah.
to make a difference, and then sharing it,
Absolutely.
because that's a big difference versus
Yeah.
just doing it, putting it
Yeah.
out there and showing, like, it, if you're somebody who's into comparing yourself to others, then that's going to be even more difficult. But to just put it out there and share it, uh,
Mm.
I think that takes a little bit of courage too, if it's coming from a good space.
Yeah. Yeah. That's oh man, that's beautiful. There's a lot of I don't know how you feel, but for me as well, having learnt to try to not be so harsh. So when one of my friends was telling me about putting stuff out there, it's been really powerful to know that it can have a good effect, and I guess that's the intent that my friend was trying to get across to me. So much like he said it was helpful for him, um, I never saw it as being something that could potentially be helpful for others. And but when he worded it that way for me and said, people might connect with this a little differently, or it might just be the thing that they need, like much like if they look at yours, or they look at Rob, or they look at Sam, Fitness Throstle, and all that sort of stuff. And it just, yeah, a little switch went off in my mind, and I thought, you know what, it's pretty selfish and arrogant and rude of me in terms of where I was at with what I was doing. I was doing it like for myself, because I want to be around and move as well as I can for as long as I can with my children and that sort of stuff, and hopefully grandchildren and alike. And so when
Yeah.
he put it that way, I just thought, well, you know what? There's probably other people that are just like me that want to, that might need a little nudge from time to time, because I know I do. I'm just grateful that, I've got children that give me that nudge daily. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, have you and your wife got children as well, Derek?
No,
No
never had
children?
kids. Yeah, just
Oh,
just furry children.
furry children. How many? What sorts and how many?
We've only got one old lady right now. We've had her since the first one I had,
Right. Yeah.
that started
The
me
one that
running.
yeah.
So we lost that first one, and then we had another one that he only lasted with us like 7. And then we've had some cats earlier on in life. But
Right.
yeah, I've got
That you got two what? Sorry.
two nieces that I
Ah.
that in the same town. So we're
Oh,
lucky we get to
awesome.
see them and then send them home with mom.
Load them up on some red cordial and lollies, and then okay, time to go home. No, that's awesome. Hey, how long did your first dog, the first pup that you had, stay with you for before? Did it pass away at old age? What was that?
No, she lasted till she was 9. I don't know if we're adopting from the wrong place.
Have you-
There, I don't know what. Yeah, so our first one, she had a brain tumor.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was brutal. And then our second one had, we never took him to the vet to do like super diagnosis, but he ended up had some kind of in his nose or up in his brain that basically took him out too.
Yeah, right.
Zooey, our last one, she's a little tank. She's 14 now. She's a lumpy, bumpy old lady, but still tanking along.
Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear. That's good to hear. And your what's your take? What's been some of what would be some, let's say, pearls of wisdom that you would share with people that are, because we've been getting a number of just comments and inquiries around people that they've been, and again, a lot of them have been from the community, just positive about the podcast. But there's also been some people that have made comments about, man, it's been so good hearing some of these people's stories because they've been umming and ahhing about whether or not to get into these burpees or do this high rep sort of calisthenics thing. So I've got a couple of questions for you here.
Sure.
One, what's your take on high rep burpees and doing them? And two, what would be your pieces of advice that you would look to share with anybody that's thinking about it, that's maybe doubting themselves, that's really apprehensive about taking that step?
Yeah. You tell me if this answers it. So the first one is, I think if you just take a look at my 75 burpees, I think that almost anybody could approach it from that point of view. We're selfish with our time, and I am definitely that, but half an hour is not a lot of time. That you could just skip one show if you're watching TV, or even, for example, take a show, set a clock, every minute on the minute, do one burpee. That's 30 burpees in that 30 minutes. And that's, my big thing is like, figure out how to take those digestible bites to where you don't even realize at a 30 rep meal of burpees while that show was going. I mean, that's
I like it. Yeah.
And you probably at the end of that 30, you're not even going to be really beaten up by it.
I love that.
And that's natural. Maybe you do that for a few weeks or a few months.
Nice.
And then you figure out what the next digestible, like maybe I'll just try 30 straight, not on the minute, but just, and kind of along those lines, during the pandemic, I was working from home. One of the things that really helped me was I started doing 10 push-ups every minute on the minute. This was like a year and a half ago. And like that was during, so I could bust out 10 in, less than 10 seconds, get back to an email, shoot, do a couple more sentences, bell goes off, 10 more push-ups. And so I was doing that, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day. And so you just get an extra 300, 400, 500 burpee or push-ups in your day. In these, you're not at the end of that 10 minutes, you're not out of breath. You're fine. And it doesn't have to be 10. It's wherever you're at. If you're doing 5 every minute on the minute, so much. It's just, to me, it's do it at a pace where you're like, I could just keep doing this. I'm not tired of the 10 minutes. And then you'll inevitably get to the point where you're like, yeah, I'm really not at all tired. Let me do 15, or let me do 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups every minute on the minute. And then so you start building in this volume. And again, all these things are scalable. So maybe you're at 1 or 2 push-ups every minute on the minute. As far as the high rep burpees, I don't know, man. I did a month of 100 a day. And then at the end of the month, I did 500 with 2 buddies. And they got through them. They were doing the more what was, how did Lee describe it? I think he said it pretty well, like flopping fish or
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah, something like yeah, and I think he uses one of Iron Wolf's like a soup sandwich and stuff as well, and
Yes, yeah,
like a cat jumping out of the that's just touched the water, like ah!
exactly. So they were going that way, and ever since the beginning of my burpees, I've been doing the strict push up.
Mm,
That's probably the biggest thing I've seen change for me. Is like when I first started, it was a bent elbow push up,
yeah,
down close
yeah,
to 90-ish. Um, Now I try and go chest to the floor
yeah. I
on
see that.
every rep.
Yeah.
Um, doesn't happen always. I try and point it out if I'm not doing that full range of motion. But like that's because when I have done not chest to the floor, even an inch or two off, like I can tell that that helps.
Mm.
That's not as much work for me.
Yeah.
So that's seeing my push up or my burpee from early on to now, like, okay, I'm still only doing 100, but that's not the same 100.
Yeah, the quality is different, eh? And the feeling is different.
Right.
The strength and everything that you have now is different. Like, yeah, I can hear where you're coming from. That's awesome.
Yeah. As far as the higher reps, though, I think that you just have to be insane or something.
A lunatic, I think Rob uses that term, lunatics. What's wrong with these
Yes,
lunatics? That's awesome, man. I've probably got a couple more questions that I'd like to ask you, Derek, if that's okay.
of course.
Mindful of your time and appreciate you, my friend. What what would you like to see? So this is a question we haven't asked anybody yet. Like we've only done literally a handful of interviews. What would you like to see from this community? Is there anything that you think, or what do you think would add more value to this community? So both Lee and I felt that a podcast like this to connect, try to connect the people, hear their stories, because like Lee said, we've just felt like when we're watching the videos, we feel like we know. I don't know you, but we feel like we know you. When if that makes sense. So when I
Yeah.
see you doing your training, and then just your positive feedback on my side, and it just drives me to want to do more, but then also try to do my part, play my small part, and try and support and encourage and uplift others that are part of this thing. What else would you like to see within this community of burpers and shakers?
Yeah. I mean, I think this is great. I totally agree. Rob's interview, like just what he shared
Mm,
was incredible. Like,
yeah.
we clearly see that we're all people, and we
Mm,
have big stories of our lives.
yeah.
And there's I struggle with the comments because when I'm watching the videos, I want to watch the whole thing, but there's so many people that I'm following that
Yeah. Yep.
the time aspect is like,
100%.
yeah, it's a tough one to balance. And so I rely a little more on the conversations and the commentary.
Yep.
uh, but I think that you're 100% right as far as knowing people, seeing them through action.
Mm,
That was something that came out of judo for me. Like, you know you really, you can look at someone and assess them, but when you put your hands on somebody, when
mm,
you embrace in a grip,
yeah.
and you're trying to throw them against their will, and they're trying to throw you against
Yep.
your will, you have a more intimate knowing of that person. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
the way they
100%.
move, it's kind of, there's um, a similar aspect, I think, in seeing people do this
Mm,
many number of burpees. You're not feeling it. You can relate to it, and then
yeah.
you can kind of translate how you see their motion occurring,
Mm,
and so
I love that.
that's a big piece of it. Um,
Awesome.
and so the conversation, I think, helps amplify that. I think is what I'm trying to say
Great.
here. So better, just
Awesome.
better knowing of the people.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great to hear because yeah, that's what we've felt. We've felt that like you said, everybody has got this big story behind them, and we don't know what those are, and they may not necessarily want to share all of those things with us, and so we understand and respect that, but we just genuinely want to get to know each of you within this community. And I was saying to Rob, I was like, man, I hope there's other people that, within this community, or whether they're part of the community or not, create a podcast, because like there's no way Lee and I are going to get to everybody. So, but there's so many stories like this that we would love to hear, because I can just whack it on and hit play while I'm traveling to or from work. I can put it on while I'm doing a jog on the treadmill, or while I'm out doing a jog around, and I feel like, and Lee and I have felt like we can connect with this community more. And yeah, we've been really encouraged by that. Anyway, I digress a bit. I'm pleased to hear that, at least from your side, you've echoed another point that I struggle with as well, and that's the time to give time to watch everybody's effort and work when they put in. I do feel somewhat guilty at times
Yeah,
because I have subscribed to these people. I get the notification, like you've been one of those, and then I'll try and do my best. Sometimes I skip watch and speed it up to try to
right.
see the parts and go along, and then I'll say, oh, that looks interesting, and then I'll hear a conversation and whatever. But still, at the same time, I'm like, man, I would really love to if I had the time, but then I've got my stuff to do, as I've got to get it done as well.
Yep.
Um, but I do feel that this community is just awesome, and you being one of those. And I guess I'd like to just take this opportunity, Derek, to thank you and acknowledge you, for giving of your time, for being here, sitting with me. Again, Lee would have liked to have been here, but he does send his apologies. It's great to connect with you, my friend, and to hear you share some very private and personal stuff as well, which has been a huge challenge, with the sad passing of your dad, and that challenge and everything that went through, but inspiring at the same time to hear about how you've observed that and then gone, man, I don't unselfishly gone, I don't want my family, or people that are close to me, to have to go through this, because it affects more than just the individual, as you pointed out, and as you've lived. And so just really thank you for sharing those things so openly, honestly, and raw. Great to hear about some of your upbringing and stuff as well, and the partying, obviously the party that you've enjoyed. I'm going to ask here, your partying has slowed down, I take it, these days, or
It's way down.
it's way down?
Since the burpees, pretty much, maybe at home, I have a reward, like half beer every night.
Nice, nice.
That's
Well,
that's my craziness now.
wow. Well, that sounds yeah. Well, that, considering the amount of volume and work that you're doing everywhere else and throughout the day, I think that's okay. But again, just thank you for the insights that you've shared, the story that you've shared. I personally feel like I know you and have a much greater respect for you as well now, after spending this time together. And I know that our listeners will too, because the stories that you've shared, the goals that you have. 1,002 pumps, my friend.
I said it.
That was inspiring. So see, you just helped me again, motivated me again, and given me another goal, to work on. But I love the comments that you've shared as well about digestible bites, and I think that will be the name for this pod, this episode with Derek Towers. Digestible bites will be the tagline for it. You've
Nice.
articulated and explained things really, really well, and helped me gain a better insight and things that I could potentially look at and use as well. So I'm really grateful to you for that, Derek, and for your time, my friend.
Well, again, man, I'm very honored that you would have me on here, and I'm hoping Lee's going to interview you at some point.
Lee, yeah, well, I'll throw it over to him. I'll let him if he wants to. I think he's flat out at the moment, still trying to recover and
Yeah.
chasing his kids around that are running amok everywhere, as he
Yeah.
describes it. So I feel for him, because yeah, I can remember those days. But yeah, our children are a bit older now. Actually, it reminds me, the girls, they've got their 100 burpees to do. They're going to do 5 lots of 20, 15-second rest, and see how they go. See if they can come in under 10 minutes today. So I'll do them with them, and
Nice.
then we'll post that up later. But
I love the videos of yours where you've got the girls and the boys out there doing it.
Yeah.
It seriously warms my heart to see that occurring in your household.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Yeah, you know what? It definitely it warms my heart too, having them beside me. Although they often don't need to, or don't want to, I should say.
Yeah.
But it's nice. Sometimes it's like, yeah, no, I just have to make the decision. But yeah, so the girls have been good, but we'll get them on. But my friend, I've really enjoyed our time together. I have a great deal of respect for you, and thank you for the motivation and inspiration that you give to me personally and many others out there within this community. We're lucky to have you. Grateful for once again for your time, and wishing you and your wife, your sweetheart, your fur animals, your sister and your nieces all the very best, and everything that you're doing. And we will look forward to connecting with you again. Maybe we'll have Lee Hazard connect with you, all three of us on the same chat.
That'd be
Awesome, man. No worries. You take care, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you.
All right.